Okay, well, back with Ray Fisher. One of the problems with his accusations over Justice League, which initially his talking about Joss Whedon being an a-hole, which I immediately accepted because he's an a-hole. And Joss Whedon has proven that himself several times, and there's been all kinds of complaints about him over the years. So he certainly complained about that, and I wasn't too surprised about it. But boy, then he went on lashing out at other people and all this stuff, and was not very specific. He said it was a toxic environment. It was unprofessional and all this type of stuff, and claims that Jeff Johns gave thinly veiled threats, which. What was it? Mentions that there's another Cyborg for the Doom Patrol TV series, and that maybe he perceived that as a threat. This is the problem with his thinly veiled threat. Fisher perceives it as a threat. Jeff Johns, whatever he doesn't give the context of the conversation. Was he complaining to Jeff Johns about Joss Whedon? Jeff Johns was telling him, listen, buckle down and deal with it. Everybody has to deal with a-holes at work. That's life. Hey man, we can move on with someone else, and maybe that's the deal he got. And then, so there you go. There's the threat. Well, the threat is not so much a threat as it is the reality of the situation, that if you don't do your job, you're gone, I don't know. But so that's the thing that he's mad about with Jeff Johns, I guess, and referring that they wanted him to say "booyah" like the cartoon character, and he thought that was wrong or whatever. And obviously didn't care for the direction that it was going, since it was not the direction he signed on for under Zack Snyder and all of that, So yeah, certainly I can understand him being disappointed and all of that, but all of this. So now the specifics. Well, he alleges there was racism. All right. So, So now it's, if they were racist toward the guy, you can understand why he'd be even more pissed off than just, the movie changed and whatnot. So he gave this interview with Forbes. I'm reading snippets from it from Cosmic Book News. And what's interesting here, you get into it, and then Cosmic Book News puts it. But what's also interesting is that the interview with Fisher at Forbes has been edited. Why? To remove Fisher's claims that he was told by someone that Whedon changed the color of the movie to change the skin tone of an actor. Okay, so here's what he originally said, and this is important, not just for the allegation of itself, but the overall Ray Fisher versus I guess Warner Brother Pictures at this point. He says, what set my soul on fire and forced me to speak out about Joss Whedon this summer was my becoming informed that Joss had ordered that the complexion of an actor of color be changed in post-production because he didn't like the color of their skin tone. Oh, boy, this is terrible. So not only is this hearsay from someone else, so he didn't know about this firsthand on his own. So this isn't his own experience. Although you could just watch the movie and then he could say, hey, that guy doesn't really look like that. But look, I can understand he didn't watch the movie. Maybe he didn't, because he's like, that's not the movie I wanted to do. So, but someone just says, hey, you know what Joss Whedon did? What, really? But the other important aspect here is this is what made him speak out. This was the final straw that broke the camel's back. And he said, all right, that's it. I'm done with these guys. I'm going to dump the whole thing out. To the public. But it's not something he knew personally, and it's also not true. So Whedon's attorney responded, and so this is why Forbes said, okay, well, now Forbes themselves, I wouldn't think they'd be liable, but I guess they just figured, oh, well, or maybe Warner Brothers said, hey, come on, Forbes, could you just take that out? Oh man, what a mess. So, he says, Mr. Fisher had no first-hand knowledge to support any of the wild allegations he made about Mr. Whedon and others associated with the film. Now this is in response to the color change. He can certainly speak to how Mr. Whedon treated him. This is what they're referring to the color. So he admitted this lack of knowledge to Forbes when stated that he became informed of these claims. Exactly. So it becomes hearsay. He can't really verify what happened. He did not witness it himself. Without identifying who supposedly informed him, he'll say, because I'm protecting their job. They could get fired if they talk about this. So, or when he supposedly learned of the information regarding skin tone changes, in reality, nothing of the sort ever happened. Yeah, there's really no evidence of that. The color scheme of the picture did change, and so they go into detail about there's a lot of people involved in it. The editor, effects person, and mood, and all this, and they were a complicated process, was because Zack Snyder had shot on film, and then Josh, which I didn't know this until now, had shot on digital. So you had two different processes here, and they had to make this work. And the senior colors who had worked on Zack films had to reconcile the two. All right. It's easily seen between footage that Zack shot, which you can see from like the original trailer, and then there's other things on YouTube and whatnot that you'll see of Zack Snyder's actual footage that he shot, and then the Joss Whedon stuff. And then even the footage that Zack shot, Joss Whedon had to change to fit in with what he shot for the movie overall. And you can easily see it. Zack Snyder's vision is similar to the Batman versus Superman look, where there's a lot of desaturation to it. It's a bit darker in tone, and with the Justice League there was this sort of blue tint to it, whereas Joss Whedon's has a red tint to it. And there's plenty of videos showing the two. You can see it kind of a wipe going back and forth in between where it changes. And then, of course, everything was a bit, the color saturation was upped. It was a little more saturation. So it's brighter and all that sort of stuff. Hence, Warner Brothers wanting the movie to be, first of all, shorter, to be funnier, and to be more like Marvel. So a lighter tone and everything. So everything was, so to make it brighter and more colorful and all of that sort of stuff. That's the color change. He goes on about people of color were removed from the film. Now, this is true to a point. He has no evidence whatsoever that this was done for purposes of racism. There was the character of Ryan Choi was cast in there. I think it was, I don't know how much detail there was for that character, but Ryan Choi in the comics is the second Adam after Ray Palmer, and he's an Asian man, and he becomes the new Adam. And so, but for Zack Snyder's purposes, I guess the show in there was introduced that if they, however far these Justice League movies could go, he would become Adam and, what have you. I don't think he did in the Justice League movie that Zack shot or anything like that, but he was there. He was part of Star Labs with Cyborg's father. Cyborg's father, his scenes, he's in the movie, but it's quite cut for it and reshot and everything, because in the Zack Snyder version, which Snyder has said this himself, that the character of Cyborg was the heart of the film, and he had a lot more to do in it. There's a more in-depth story there, which also can go a long way of explaining why Ray Fisher is really upset, because, he had this performance that no one gets to see. Of course, they will see it because Snyder Cut is coming to HBO Max, but this got cut for the theatrical release at the time. Also, the scenes involving Victor Stone, Cyborg's mother, was in it. You've probably seen those on YouTube as well, where she's cheering him on at the football game, and that whole story about Cyborg was gone. So it's cut for time. It's cut for all these reasons, and if there was any way to keep it in, they probably would have, because Cyborg's story is still very much within the film, but the elements of like that, his mother and what happened with his father and everything, is not. So it was too much trouble to keep it going, and for whatever reason, they also decided they didn't want Cyborg's father to die within the film. He does in the original. Spoiler. So, there's that. And then also one of the other characters of color was Iris West, who becomes eventually Barry Allen's wife. Yes, I know she's for decades was white in the comics, but even in the comics they've race swapped. That's it's the current fad for today's entertainment. But nevertheless, she was in that, and there's this scene, you can see it on YouTube, where Barry Allen saves her and all of that. But that was completely cut out. again, because they wanted the movie to run at 2 hours or even less than that. And even Zach's own reshot film went over. It was at 2:14, so that was even over the time limit they wanted. And once he left, well, they had Joss Whedon come in, and they basically, it's more a Warner Brothers film than it even is Joss Whedon. So that's that. So there's nothing there for him to claim that there was some racist motives as to how the film turned out. So the fact that he's going there, and especially with hearsay, that's very deceptive and is not great. And very interesting that Forbes decided, probably read from it. You get a letter from a lawyer, and who else? I don't know. But Fisher, you made several mistakes here. So the next allegation of racism was that there was this racist conversation between. Wow, damn it! I'm losing track here. Jeff Johns, John Berg, and Toby Emmerich. Yeah, there we go. Jeff Johns and Toby Emmerich, who's still very much in charge. This is quite a bridge he's burning. He's already probably burnt one with Walter Hamada. And so he says they participated in racist conversations. Well, over at Bounding in the Comics, who covered the same story, it goes in a little more detail about that. The same thing, the allegation is, it was a racist conversations. But he says, I was only made aware of them after he spoke out against Joss Whedon. So he didn't witness any of this. He doesn't know anything about it. He just, again, hearsay. He says, he's reported to me by people in the room. So, I don't know, did Toby tell you? Did John Berg tell you? Hey, we were all racist in this conversation, and then, so he goes on, like he's on this big movement with his, accountability is greater than entertainment, and, like he's on a cause or whatnot. My guess is that Joss Whedon was rude to him. What he thought the movie would be, it was not going to be. That there was a lot of scenes and footage he shot that he was very proud of, and it looked to him that it was never going to be seen. He didn't really care for where the direction the movie was going, and they basically told him, "Yeah, well, you're hired to perform the part, and you signed on, and you don't write and direct, or we do, and shut up and do your job." And that, he didn't like that, And the way Joss Whedon was probably very rude about it. And then he probably complained to Jeff Johns, and Jeff Johns told him to suck it up and what have you. And he didn't like that either. And that's that. And, I could understand him being irritated and says, I just hope I don't have to work with those guys again. And I doubt that I'm pretty sure he won't. But this thing that he wants them completely run out of the company, I guess, because Jeff Johns has moved on to other things. He's got his Stargirl show. He's involved with, I guess, Doom Patrol too, and all that, because that's that whole conversation he had there. We got another Cyborg, and he saw that as a threat to his career, and all this stuff. And then apparently he's involved with the Green Lantern. I guess the Green Lantern show and a Green Lantern movie. Don't know where all that is at the moment, but a lot of these would include ideas that he set forth in the comic books. And so if they're using ideas that he originated, there's probably some contractual deals there where they, at the very least, they'd have to pay him an executive producer check or something like that. I don't see how you're going to get him out of that. But as far as him having actual involvement, apparently he does. Certainly with Stargirl, which looks to have been pretty successful. It's not that bad of a show. I watched it and I thought it was okay. And so, but apparently he wants him done, never to be able to work again, and to starve to death under a bridge. I don't know. Well, maybe not that. But he's not bringing anything. And the bizarre thing about it is I always thought Ray Fisher has won. Zack Snyder's Justice League will be seen. His performance, as it was originally intended, will be seen on HBO Max. He does all this after that was known. You know, the announcement came and it was the only good news of 2020. Snyder Cut will indeed be released. And the thing about Ray Fisher was he was, I think, the first members of the cast who was always openly in support of release the Snyder Cut. And he said, oh yeah, I'd really love to see that. And I would like to see that released in some form or fashion. And I don't know. Maybe he has troubles. I'm not sure what the deal is here, because Mr. Fisher, you've already won. And you're talking about this like some heinous crime was committed without saying what it was, except now apparently it's racist conversations and racist motives, which are easily shot down here, especially since it's not something you initially witnessed yourself. That was one of the points he made with his conversation with Walter Hamada, who was trying to defend Jeff Johns. Says, I just don't see him as that type of guy, that he's unprofessional or rude or what have you, or threatening. And Ray's response is, yeah, but you weren't there. Well, Mr. Fisher, you weren't there in the editing process and the color schemes used for the movie, and you weren't there for this meeting that took place with Emmerich and Johns and Berg. So see how that works. And the thing about the color scheme thing is, well, that was kind of obvious. And if you could have, yeah. All right. So it's terrible. I don't like defending the likes of Joss Whedon. I certainly had appreciated Ray Fisher's support for the Snyder Cut, and he was very long and out front early on that. And so it's all a very sad story, and I don't understand why he's doing that. Maybe there's one more smoking gun that he's saying he's holding back because it would ruin other people's careers if he came out about it. But man, I mean, Warner Brothers is trying to get this HBO Max thing off the ground. They got to deal with headaches from Amber Heard's problems and Ezra Miller, who's been very quiet, which is very wise on his part after being in trouble with choking a woman. All of that, and then now this. So, and it's the thing about maybe your performance in Justice League will be so good that you'll be in such a powerful position they'll just have to take it. I don't know, but your performance that I'm sure you wanted people to see will be seen. But man, you keep burning bridges like this, they're just probably gonna just move on. I don't know. I don't know how far Zack Snyder's new power can go. I'm sure he'll be in your corner as much as possible, but he can't be in the corner of someone who's, dealing in falsehoods here. This was material and allegations that you couldn't confirm yourself, yet you ran with it. At a certain point, you run out of time. You're going to have to put up if you really do have something, and that's that. It's all very sad and unfortunate because, again, he was one of the heroes in the Snyder Cut movement to get that thing released, and now this. So, yeah. All right, there you go. So there's the saga of Ray Fisher versus Warner Brothers, or Warner Pictures, I guess, whatever. There's all these different compartments of the Warners. AT&T's going to have to figure it out, I guess. But anyway, the saga continues, I'm sure. Alright, thank you for watching and listening. Why not like and subscribe, and check out that link description below. That'll take you to my mini stores that have plenty of goodies for you. You know, hats, mugs, stickers, posters, all that goody stuff. Plus, you can head over to indieplanet.com and pick up a copy of my comic book Night Night. Oh, yeah. Plus, you can also catch my podcast, Mr Nailsin Show, over at radiomisfits.com. And you can also watch my videos on my channel at BitChute. That's the Mr Nailsin channel on BitChute.com.